Yes, you read that title correctly. We have some absolutely absurd and somewhat unthinkable LEGO Star Wars set rumors for summer of 2025 to discuss today. We'll start with the two that are less absurd than the other two, that being the 75430 buildable Ewok at $90, which we kind of knew about, but is now more or less confirmed to be coming out in the summer. And then set number 75434 is supposed to be the second set from Andor. We already knew it would not be the Hallcraft, and it's going to be a buildable K2SO at $90, which I feel like is going to get a mixed reaction because everyone basically wanted the Hallcraft, but a buildable K2SO I'm sure will be enjoyed by many fans nonetheless. It's just not the Hallcraft, which, everyone wanted that. So we've gotten those relatively boring rumors out of the way, and I don't know which one to talk about first. The $150 MTT that could be a Clone Wars style MTT, or the literal $1,000 Death Star, the first $1,000 LEGO set ever. I never thought it would happen this soon, but apparently it's happening in summer of 2025. And I think we'll start on the Death Star. I think that's the bigger piece of news. No matter what you feel about an MTT, a $1,000 LEGO set is something to talk about. So this is something that I thought just couldn't happen this soon. But if you look at the data, if anyone gets that joke, let me know in the comments. The inflation numbers on both the UCS Millennium Falcon from 2017 and the UCS AT-AT from 2021 put both of those sets at about $1,000 in today's money if they were released right now. And so you kind of technically have sets that would cost $1,000 if they were released today. And so when you look at it through that lens, it's not as surprising to me that we have a $1,000 Death Star. But if you look at it through the lens of the 2016 Death Star, that was the playset Death Star, had all the interior bits, the remake of the 2008 one, it was $500. And if you do the inflation on that, it brings you up to $650. And we're all going to assume that this Death Star is going to be a playset, display set, 2-in-1, with the panels. And so you're telling me that panels will cost another $350? There's a chance this set is really overpriced, kind of like the UCS Jabba Sail Barge from this year. And it's really hard to tell at this point because we just don't know if this set will be bigger than our previous Death Stars or not. There's a chance that it's this amazing large model and it's very much worth $1,000. And I would hope that if LEGO is really going to go out on a leg here and release a $1,000 LEGO set for the first time, they do put their best foot forward. They do give you good value for your money. You would hope if you're dropping a band on something, you're getting something really, really good. And I expect it to be really, really good. When I get to review this set 10 months from now, I'm going to be very critical about it because they're literally asking $1,000 for it. This is definitely an initial reaction. I want to make a more in-depth video about what to expect from this Death Star, but just kind of surface level, every minifigure in this $1,000 LEGO Death Star better be as good as they can be. All of the Imperial officers from the cool scenes better be there, and they better all have dual molded legs when appropriate. There's so many things that this set is going to have to do right to be worth that $1,000 in my opinion. I always assumed if they did a Death Star like this, it would be cheaper because basically when you're at this price point, you've got so many pieces in there, it just becomes a very heavy model. The 2005 Death Star is very heavy. The 2008, 2016 Death Stars, they're very heavy. And if you combine panels with the very dense interior, you're getting something that's going to be very hard to hold. And I know it's a weird thing to hone in on, but I think how you pick this model up will be very interesting to me. Even when you go to buy it at the store, we're assuming it's heavier than every other LEGO set ever because it's the most expensive. How do you pick this up and carry it to your car? Does it come with wheels on the box standard? These are questions that need answering. There's so many things about this set. I need to make a more in-depth video about every little detail that I expect out of a $1,000 Death Star because it's frankly just absurd news. And I guess it's not super important, but for the Death Star, the set number is 75419. Now the next set number is 75435, and it's rumored to be an MTT releasing on August 1st of 2025. First things first, the price point, $150. Now, that's the extent of the info we basically have on this. There's a little bit more. I'll get to it, actually. But $150. And at first, I was like, oh, man, that's not going to be enough money to make this a good MTT. And then I looked at the inflation numbers. You see the 2007 MTT behind me. That was $100, again, in 2007. And in today's money, that's about $152. So there's a chance that this MTT is reasonably sized and actually a good model, like the 2007 one. one, the only good MTT, I would argue, because the 2014 MTT was really small. The 2000 MTT was also very small and also very ugly, but that was 2000, so it gets a pass. So at $150, I feel like the potential is there for this to be a very good MTT build. The caveat to that, of course, is modern day Lego. They use a lot of smaller pieces for more detail, and they just tend to overprice things. So I still don't expect it to be the same size as that 2007 MTT, even though the inflation numbers would make you think that it could be. I just feel like that's not going to be what happens, but I still expect this to be a very good MTT. I expect it to be at the very least the second best, and if it somehow surpasses the 2007 one, that's a great thing, but it's a hard thing to do. Now, as far as what to expect with this MTT, I think a lot of people would at first glance see MTT rumor and just assume it would be the brown MTT from the Phantom Menace. However, I think there's a decent chance it's Clone Wars, and here's my case for it. First off, if it was going to be a Phantom Menace MTT, the anniversary was 2024 for the Phantom Menace. They made a very clear and obvious effort to make a bunch of Phantom Menace anniversary sets for 2024. Why, when they were planning all of it out, would they offset the MTT by a year, when they could have easily released it this year and had it for the Phantom Menace anniversary if it was a Phantom Menace set? That to me is the most obvious case that it's not going to be Phantom Menace. Now, I've said this a billion times. Obviously, sets don't have to release only on the anniversary of their movies. It's honestly gotten a bit to a point where I feel like we talk about that sort of thing too much and that everything has to be an anniversary, this, that, and the other. Like, it's just been kind of a big talking point for the past few years, and somewhat rightfully so. Lego has been leaning into it, so it makes sense. But like, if Lego was leaning into it so hard, and they were last year or this year in 2024 for the MTT, why wouldn't it have released this year? And so that to me is the biggest hint, if you could call it that this MTT might not be what most people would pencil it in as. And then a pretty reliable Lego leaker, Lego Minecraft Goat on Instagram, posted an Instagram story where he just posted a picture with a blue heart, and it had this Clone Wars MTT mini model. And it just, you start to connect some dots there at that point. So I'm leaning heavily to Clone Wars MTT just because of those two pieces of information there. I don't want to be like too hopeful and get everyone's hopes up and then everyone's disappointed when it's a brown MTT, but like, come on, you're going to tell me that you wouldn't think the same thing that I'm thinking with those two pieces of information? Like, Lego made a Coruscant Guard gunship instead of a regular gunship. There's zero reason at this point that we could not get a Clone Wars MTT. Like, they clearly can and will do some weird off the rails things now that they would not have done 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. Times have changed for better and for worse. Like, we're in a year in 2025 where we're getting a Plo Koon's Microfighter Starfighter, which everyone's pissed off about and really sucks. But we're also in a year where we could get a Clone Wars MTT, and like, that's not a legitimately insane thing to think like it would have been a few years ago. So it continues to look to me like summer of 2025 is not going to be the Revenge of the Sith renaissance that I think many people expected it to be. But there's some wild stuff coming out. It's still going to be a good year. It's just not going to be the year that we thought it would be, at least from, there's still so many more sets, but from, the things that have started to trickle out, like, there's just some insane stuff. So I guess I'll leave it here. $1,000 Death Star, $150 potentially Clone Wars style MTT, K2SO and the Ewok, who really cares about those? Like, just some insane sets for summer of 2025. So let me know your thoughts on these in the comment section below. And if you guys haven't watched, I've been putting out reviews on January 2025 sets over the past few days. I've got the playlist on the end screen right now.